Hello, everyone, and welcome to All Aboard. I am Nicole Wingate, speech-language pathologist.
And I'm Angie Sheets, an intense interventions teacher.
And it's our hope that we can share our journey of getting others aboard our AAC train so that students have access to education and communication throughout their day. And I just love this quote by Gail Van Tatenhove. Similar to how we first must learn to read before we can read to learn, we must also first learn to communicate before we can communicate to learn. And I just love this because communication is that tier 1 foundation, especially if you're looking at those alternative academic standards. We have to have that basis for communication before they can have access to their curriculum. So our first stop along this AAC journey is the Intense Interventions classroom, and that is Angie Sheets. She is our Intense Interventions teacher. And when I came aboard about 5 years ago, I pushed into her classroom and did a language lesson. And she would have themes that she was using, and I would do a language lesson based upon her theme. And I quickly found out that I'm not sure what I'm really doing here because she could be the therapist. She's running a language-enriched environment. And at that time, most of her students were primarily verbal. And then we had a shift a few years ago where those students moved on, and the students that we were gaining had limited verbal capabilities. So we had to really rethink of how we were going to approach communication with these students. So it became kind of a communication trial and error lesson, and so our lessons transform into explicit teaching of core vocabulary, and then the core vocabulary also connected to that academic instruction. So I can say that collaboration was just the key to making this journey go more quickly and smoothly and for our students to have the most success. So the more people that we can get on board, the more opportunities we can get with the students throughout the day to use communication.
And as our students began learning to communicate, we no longer had that significant barrier with them being able to communicate to learn. My students' achievement started to soar, which in turn challenged my academic instruction style, techniques, and curriculum. You know, I'm an old school teacher, so I really didn't have that background in the general education piece. I had taken, I think, one course in reading and one course in basic math when I was in college, and now I found myself scrambling to find the pieces that I need to fit the curriculum together. That curriculum that was easily adaptable and for the alternative communication styles and the alternative access and academically challenging enough to meet their needs now that we were seeing these big gains. We do have a short video of one of our young ladies who blew us away. This gal, when she came to us, she was functionally nonverbal. She had some basic academic goals, and we were thrilled with what she was able to do when she was given the appropriate tools to work with.
I C A Fireman.
Good job.
So one of the really cool parts in that video, I hope you picked up on, she did not have the exact word firefighter that was programmed into her device. Instead, she had the word fireman, but she knew how to find that substitution. She had the ability to motor plan that out, and she also had that cognitive alertness to realize what she was searching for and how it would apply to the setting that the task that she was asked to do. This is not something that came naturally to me or my assistants and working more on this form of literacy here, but we've continued to build our toolbox of the pieces that we have to present our students with. And all of our students, every single one of our students that we have introduced the AAC pieces to have made significant academic gains. In this chart, we show 4 students that we focused on here, and we have many more that we should probably be charting like this now. Our successes have been phenomenal because of the team approach that we have taken, we believe. The first student listed, she's a 4th grader with multiple disabilities, and pre-AAC academic levels, when she came to us with no means of communication, she was non-verbally identifying 7 letters when presented with a choice of 2, so she was given that 50-50 option there. Post-academic levels, she was independently reading 8 sight words. This was over a 2-year acquisition period, and she was reading those 80 sight words with 80% phrasal comprehension, and she independently reads aloud with her AAC device. The second student that we were featuring is a 1st grader with a mild cognitive disability and language impairment, and her pre-AAC levels with her psych reports came in the academic age of 24 months, and she was able to match the same colors. After implementing AAC, she's reading 10 sight words, she's identifying shapes with 90% accuracy, colors with 80% accuracy, and counting by rote with verbal approximations and with her device from 1 to 10 with 100% accuracy. I also want to add on this young lady too, her verbal approximations and her spoken language has increased so much. She still uses the device as well. Sometimes she uses it in conjunction with speaking, but her spoken words are so much more, are more easily understood, and she is using her spoken words appropriately. And I really think that AAC piece has just boosted her intelligible vocal responses as well as her confidence in communicating. It's been phenomenal. The third student that we're featuring is a 1st grader who is on the autism spectrum, and our psychs were unable to obtain any measurable academic data. And now he's identifying letters with 61% accuracy, numerals with 57% accuracy, and colors with 56% accuracy. So from going to not being able to obtain any piece that they could even measure that they felt substantial in, to gaining a good foundation there for those basic skills, has blown us away. The final student that we're focusing on is a 2nd grader on the autism spectrum, and his pre-AAC levels were, he was non-verbally identifying 10 letters and 5 shapes. He came from a different school district, so I'm not sure if he was given a choice for those letters, choice of 2, choice of 3. I'm not certain on that, but I am certain that now he's independently reading 40 sight words. He's also reading those in actual books instead of just in isolation now, and he's completing single-digit addition with sums of 10 or less with 80% accuracy, and he has significantly increased his time in general education. In addition with that, too, the behaviors that we have seen have significantly reduced given access to the communication pieces. But what has made this functional is that it's been a team approach. So speaking to those academic outcomes, I love this quote. It says, having high expectations doesn't mean tossing students work they absolutely can't accomplish. It means not backing away from some tasks just because you recognize you'll have to provide a lot of scaffolds on which to build their success. It means believing that if you provide the right support, they really can be successful. When I first started looking at our state's alternative standards, I thought that there were people at the state level who made these decisions for my students without thinking about them, without seeing them, without having an understanding of what their needs are. There are still some of those standards that I struggle with, to be very honest with you. However, having the right tools in place and the team support in place to build those scaffolds, I have seen outcomes for my students that I never thought was possible before. And that team approach and utilizing the tools in the right way has made such an impact on my kiddos. The next stop is working with our instructional assistants. This is my team here, and I can't say enough fantastic things about my assistants. They are phenomenal. They're such an integral part of implementing AAC across the school day. They're in places that I don't get to go. They're in classrooms that I rarely get to go to, and they are side by side with our students in many different situations that I don't have the opportunity to be in. So many days they spend more direct time with the students than I actually do, depending on testing and conferencing. Those instructional assistants, gosh, I've said it before, but they're so important in implementing that AAC across the environments and making sure that they are educated and that they're empowered and that they have an understanding of the systems is probably one of the most critical keys that we have. Empowering your assistants gives them the flexibility to truly liberate the communication opportunities across the settings. We knew that to get the buy-in from our assistants, we needed to train and model and hold them accountable. So we held a training luncheon to give our assistants basic functional instruction, and some of our assistants were able to attend formal training as well. Sometimes we have friendly classroom competitions where our assistants can earn points towards no recess duty or no diaper duty if they are caught actually modeling AAC or coming up with creative vocab instructional pieces and other opportunities for our students to utilize target words. This has become a fun part of our classroom as we encourage the competition, but we're encouraging the competition with assistants with the outcome being empowering our students. Several of our classroom assistants are also employed by our local YMCA, and they run our adaptive camp. So through this camp, our assistants also wrote a grant to make sure the AAC devices are available at our Y. And additionally, some of my assistants took it upon themselves to run a disability awareness night for our Boy Scout troop to try to increase AAC awareness. The assistants are critical members of our classroom team, but they also have a great impact on our community.
So this brings us to our AAC prompting hierarchy. And why is this so important? It's an evidence-based practice, first of all. And if a student is experiencing success, it's easy to get stuck in one prompting level and not move up to the independence level. If prompting levels are skipped, evidence shows that it may take longer to achieve independence. So we spend a lot of time with this with our instructional assistants and any of the other staff members that we're going to be working with our students on the AAC prompting hierarchies so that our students could be successful. And our other suggestion is model, model, model. You can't model enough for our students, for families, for peers and staff. It's just an integral part of that piece to helping our students be successful.
I think some of our greatest models are general education peers. They're so intrigued by what our students are doing. They want to hear our students' voices, and so utilizing those peers is a great form of modeling.
And when you think your students are watching you, they are watching every single move. I mean, we just captured some pictures last week of a little girl. She uses some high-tech AAC, but she was actually modeling with an AAC device. She was modeling with a paper model to another student in her class on the board. So they are watching and doing, and it's absolutely amazing.
So we're going back here a little bit about some of the training that our assistants were able to take part in. We did host a LAMP training at our school, and with that LAMP training, we were able to receive a few seats, free seats, for our assistants to be able to receive that formal training as well. Our assistants needed to hear that we were all in this learning process together and that it's okay to make mistakes. So I model making mistakes. Sometimes I am just modeling, and sometimes I'm actually am making mistakes on the devices as well. But our assistants and our students need to know it's okay if you have to use a word finder. It's okay if you need to go back and delete and try again. So modeling that as a classroom lead is super important for our assistants as well as our students, and letting our assistants know that the mistakes are just part of the learning process, and validating that those mistakes are part of it, and that we just appreciate the efforts that they're trying.
You're going to see a short snippet here. This was taken during a summer camp at the Y I think it was last summer. Mm-hmm. But you're going to see how one of our students was able to participate in a game using her AAC device along with her verbal speech.
Yes, you. Then who?
I love how she's using the device. She's giving a directive. She's gesturing. She's looking, and she is vocalizing that student's name, even though you can't understand the name. But she is using all forms of communication. I absolutely love it.
And I love that our assistants were able to compel a community agency for their own employment, as well as a community basis for inclusive summer activities for our kiddos.
So this brings us to some data collection. And through this journey, we also did some push-in lessons for core vocabulary in the intense interventions classroom, as well as some pull-out group therapy as well. But when we did that, it was all hands on deck. Whether we used instructional assistants or speech therapy assistants, we had to figure out a way, okay, how can we also be collecting some data as we're teaching these core words? Because when we're teaching the core words, it's a show and go. It's not a sit and get. So we came up with these labels, and it basically shows the student's name, the date, what words we're working on, who's working with the student, and then were they able to say those words independently on their device, or did they need a prompt? Did they verbally say the words? What other words did they say verbally, or what other words did they use on their device? So it just gave us some information with the labels. We were able to just take them off and slap them on our leg and just carry a pen around with us, because we tried the hard copy, the Google form, which I'll show you, with a clipboard, but this just seemed more efficient. And I'll show you that one. So this is so we made it also into a Google form with a QR code that we could also utilize, and then the hard copy. But like I said, the labels just were much more efficient for us.
All right, so you saw the picture of my team, and that I do have several assistants that are involved in my classroom. So keeping everybody organized and everybody having the same target goal in mind is a tricky process. So my advice to that is, number one, keep your goal targets posted. So I just have these little targets that I keep posted on my cabinet doors, and I use a dry erase marker on them so we can adapt as we're going along. But that way there's no question in what we're working towards, and everybody has an idea of what that end hope is for, and where we're headed. The second piece, even though they're all numbered number one, sorry about that, the second piece is keep goal-oriented materials easily accessible. So I have baskets set out for my students, and I have them labeled so that assistants can easily find the resources that they need to, like Nicole had said, go and show. We're not about sitting and getting. So getting up and moving and giving our students those experiences that they need to have a better understanding of what the vocabulary means, giving them opportunities to actually apply those words and apply those phrases into actual activities that are going to be more meaningful and more memorable to them. And my third piece of advice there is to make that data collection simple. And Nicole had mentioned either the tags that are posted on your leg, or we use a lot of Google Forms. Nicole showed you that we use a QR code for many of our students, as well as that QR code. Many of my assistants will post those on their own lanyards so that they have them with them when they're on the move going and showing. So they can just scan that QR code very easily, enter the data, and we're on our way.
All right, this brings us to our Word of the Week videos. So we tried to figure out a way, okay, what's the best approach? How can we make this motivating and meaningful for our students and still teaching them these core words? So we came up with these Word of the Week videos. So we simply take whatever words we're working with, and we'll record little snippets, and we get everyone involved throughout our building. But for example, you're going to see one here in a minute with the video here. So what are all the ways that we can utilize the word here? And so we'll go around, and then we'll put this into an iMovie, and I'm just going to show this to you here so you can get an idea of what it looks like.
Here I come to save the day.
The word of the week is here. Where are you?
Right here.
Where are you? Where are you?
Here I am.
Hey, come here. Can you sit right here? Here? Oh, yeah. Oh, and here. Here, you sit right here.
Here?
Oh, no, right here.
Okay. Here.
And here, you come here. Can you sit right here?
So she's wanting us to.
Here. Yes, right here. Oh, sit right here.
Here?
Yes, right here. And you, sir, come sit right here. Thank you.
right. Here it is. Hey, come here.
Where's your backpack?
It's here.
Oh, great! Where's your coat? Where do you work?
We work here.
This video was brought to you by the Word of the Week. Here. Thanks for stopping here to watch.
So as you can see in the video, we utilize all the ways that you can use the word here. So when we're showing this to our students, we'll play it through one time and let them watch the video and see the video. And then we'll go back and we'll replay it, but then we'll pause after each little snippet. And then we can ask the question to prompt them to use the word here on their device. And then usually after that, we'll do a hands-on activity, or we'll go throughout the building and find all the ways that we can utilize that word of the week. And then we also we make slides that go along when we're teaching so that they can see the motor plan of where to find the word of the week.
I think this is really important too when we're training our staff as well. I think oftentimes these slides are more of a staff training tool to help support our students through the week as we're really focusing and targeting on those specific words or phrases.
Another thing I have done, because we usually put this on the smart board, and this year I have printed out paper copies of the word here, or of the word of the week, because I'll sometimes enlarge them or make them smaller as well for specific students. But when I get those paper copies out, they like to have that like right beside their device so they can see it and then also utilize it on the device. So instead of having an adult prompting them, they use that more independently to utilize or to find the word on their device. And then we also have different activities. So how can you use the word here during calendar time? What kind of song can we elicit with the word here? What are some different books that would utilize the word here? How can you use this during snack time or lunch time? Then we have the video. How can you use this at recess? So just trying to brainstorm and figure out ways how we can get the word of the week throughout the entire day. So we'll do this a couple times a week, and then Mrs. Sheets and her instructional assistants also utilize that word during instruction and academic instruction throughout the entire week. And then we also have the QR code link to those slides as well. And so we put this all on a Google Drive, a common drive, so we all have access to it.
Which is really important too for when we go back to do refreshers and reminders, or as we're getting new students in and we need to go back and review those vocabulary pieces. Additionally, it's been helpful as we're transitioning students into middle school or high school that our entire special education staff has access to those Google files that they can easily pull up as they're training new staff or as they're utilizing those words and those phrases in their instruction as well. This next slide just shows how we utilize everyone in our building. In the Word of the Week video here, you saw our office staff, our principals, our superintendents were involved in that. We utilize our custodians. We utilize all different kids in different classrooms, and simply we'll go by and we'll be like, oh, this class doesn't look like they're doing much. Is it okay to interrupt? Would anyone like to participate in our video? So really just getting the whole staff involved has got buy-in, and they're also intrigued in what these core Word of the Week videos are, and also just teaching them about the AAC devices, which we're going to get into here next. So our third stop is the general ed. So really creating opportunities to the general ed teachers and students about AAC. So you're going to see a couple pictures here. Here in the upper right-hand corner, one year during Disability Awareness Month, I did some lessons during library time, which is a special time with our gen ed classes, taught them about an AAC device, brought in AAC users so they could see how it works. So just teaching them
about different ways to communicate. Just like some people have hearing aids so that they can hear. Some people use a wheelchair because they're not able to ambulate. Some people wear glasses because they can't see. So it's just that attachment for that student so that they have a way to communicate. Over here on the left, I'll let you explain that one.
The picture on the left shows an entire general education class in my classroom. They had used the word of the week as a writing prompt or a writing project for their classroom. The teacher decided to make it an entire classroom project to help produce this video for us. So they used it as a writing project, and the students wrote the script for the video. The students acted, they were actors in the video, they filmed and produced the video, and then they were able to come to my classroom to see the premiere viewing of the video. And it was an amazing inclusive piece that the classroom did to really help incorporate the vocabulary that we were targeting, as well as just gain a better understanding of the devices that some of the students in their classroom were using. It was an amazing opportunity for students to ask questions and to actually feel like they were contributing and being hands-on in this process. We do have an interview with the teacher who did this project with us. She's a second grade teacher.
I'm Lindsay Schroeder. I teach second grade at Bluffton Harrison Elementary. I have received some training on AAC, but I've also had a few students in my classroom using that while they've been in here. I felt like it was important to not only bridge the gap between our gen ed classroom, but also the special ed classroom, and just make that sense of community with that student. Just kind of have them be a part of his learning process and our learning process at the same time. It was a lot of fun because we wrote the sentences that they then performed. They decided on them. They had to write them correctly. It was just a lot of fun, and it was a real authentic piece of writing that they got to do, but then also help their classmate out at the same time. They loved it. They loved watching themselves, but they also liked being a part of that process for him. I think it was really good and eye-opening for them to know that some people use this to communicate, and they might see that later in life too. Also maybe in a different classroom, because they're using that all the time. I would love to see them be able to communicate with that classmate using that AAC technology. I think that would be make that community just that much stronger for that student. They loved it. They were so excited. You guys would show up at our door and we would be ready to go. One day we weren't able to do it and they were so bummed about it. We had a couple of outtakes where it was just giggle and fun. It was a really exciting thing to do. It was different. It was something unique like we hadn't ever done before, and that was exciting for them. Just try it. I mean, honestly, just give it a go. I took it home a couple of times and practiced with it, like just on the paper model, never on an iPad, just so that I could get the motions down. But then also just using it when I was just having that free conversation with the student. He would always kind of look at me like, can you be a little bit faster? But I would just encourage you to try it. If you mess up, they'll just kind of look at you like, oh man. But that was kind of fun, because I would say, oh, Mrs. Schroeder's being silly right now and I don't know how to do it. But I would just encourage you to try it, and then as you try it more, you'll be more comfortable with it, and then you'll be able to actually use it to communicate with your kiddos. I would just like to have more practice with it. Yes, I did have training, but it was in one day in isolation. But I would love to have a little bit more training on it, a little bit more experience using it, whether that be with certain students or just me trying it at home with my kiddos and having them do it themselves. I just think it's a really important component of their learning, but also bringing it into, the gen ed classroom and having them use it and be comfortable with it as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is our Chatterbox Challenge. And this is what we did this year during our Disability Awareness Month. And we had 30 minutes one morning where our entire elementary building was silent. We have about 700 students, I would say, in our building. So the first 30 minutes were silent. And so teachers were given suggestions and other ways that they could communicate with their students and other ways they could elicit communication from their students without any verbal speech. And then we also had our morning announcements on without any verbal speech. So these are our morning announcements, an example. And so the link here would go to a little video of good morning using sign language. Here was the Pledge of Allegiance.
I think it was signed again.
Signed again. Our moment of silence using our 5-point scale. Today's lunch menu using all picture communication. And I do have a video of that one. Then we went to, today is Count on Me Monday using the Big Mac switch.
Today is Count on Me Monday.
We talked about Disability Awareness Month and what that means.
March is Disability Awareness Month. Today we are participating in the Chatterbox Challenge. We are not speaking with our mouths from 8 to 8:30. This might help us to understand what it is like to use other means to communicate.
And this is on this Chatterbox Monday. Remember to work hard, do your best, and be good to each other, and be safe.
Work hard. Work hard. Do your best. Do your best. Be good to each other. Be good to each other. And be safe. And be safe. Have a good day. Have a good day.
What was so exciting to me about this process was that it was pushed out by our building principal, and in that short amount of time, just during our morning announcements, every student and every teacher in our building just experienced multiple forms of nonverbal communication. And it was a great way to bring about awareness and an understanding. And once again, having that push from our administration to do that was phenomenal, and getting that buy-in from all the participants that we need to make this successful for our students.
And we got great feedback from the teachers. I mean, they were like, we need to do this every year. Just the feedback they got back from their students and just how well it was received was really exciting.
And 30 minutes of silence in an elementary school is something to be praised. That normally does not happen here.
So as we said before, instead of sit and get, go and show, is so much more motivating for our students. You can see in these pictures, we try to brainstorm different ways that we can make it motivating for our students. So, for example, up in the upper left, the one picture is a little blurry, but we're literally having a road race in the hallway. And we are blessed. We have a student services hallway, so we can kind of close some doors and be a little loud if we want to. But we're working on the words go and stop. And you can see under the parachute, we have some devices under there, and we're working on up and down. Again, that same activity, we are utilizing the rock wall, and we had little icons of the word up posted, up, and then down on the bottom. And they had to utilize their device to be able to use the rock wall.
I think these go and show activities are even more so important for our students with more complex bodies, with more complex learning needs, who have had such limited experiences possibly as they've been dealing with medical concerns or other developmental issues that may have limited their developmental experiences as they were younger. So being able to add that meaning to those phrases and those words by experience is what really makes a difference for these guys.
Can you get a picture of my screen here?
So to say, this was this little guy's first day at our school. He transferred to us from another building. So he pretty much had some vocalizations. You could see that he signed please, but he quickly, we did some math sports, and he quickly caught on to utilizing AAC.
But he was highly engaged in that movement activity and being fast and being on the go. And that was super intriguing and motivating enough for him to figure out how to use those key words to get what he wanted.
So the next thing we're going to talk about are some social skills, and just also brainstorming some ways that we can utilize AAC and give our students a voice during some social skills. We do 5-minute articulation drills if you're a speechy. So we utilize, our little guys to go in with their device and ask for the student or participate in a small game with them out in the hallway while the other student is also doing their 5-minute drill. We've done snack bars, we've done trick-or-treating, a Thanksgiving feast, carnival, just different activities that we can get other staff members and teachers involved in utilizing AAC. As you can see, we did this Thanksgiving feast, so we had all of the icons. The food was prepared by the students, and then we invite administrators into the classroom. That has been huge. I don't know that we think we have a picture of that on the last slide, but this last Thanksgiving, Mrs. Sheets was like, yeah, I invited all the superintendents to our Thanksgiving feast. I'm like, what? And normally we invite our own superintendent and our principal and some teachers of those students to come in and just see these students in action. Well, we are part of a cooperative which services 6 school districts, and so that morning our superintendent said, well, I'm not sure if I'll be back in time. We have, our board meeting. And so Mrs. Sheets took it upon herself and just said, well, just bring them all over. And I really was sweating bullets. But it ended up being just an amazing experience because we service the intensive intervention students for 3 school districts, so in 1 county. So we have students that come to us from other school districts that don't have the programming for them. So that superintendent came, and he was one that had been very resistant on AAC, just not having the understanding of it, and just dollar signs, they see dollar signs. But once he was able to see the students and see the student that was from his school district actually communicating instead of barrel rolling down the hallway and screaming and yelling, it was just a game changer, and he had total buy-in.
I think as a teacher, too, it's very intimidating to have our administrators come into our classroom. However, if I'm doing the very best I can with what I've got, then I've got nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to be fearful of. These are students who are a part of our school building, and so making opportunities where our administrators come to visit my classroom, come and sit with my students, come and talk with my students, and my students have a chance to talk back with them, that's a really important part of their education. I also think it's really important that our administrators, as Nicole mentioned, we have students who come from multiple districts. Our administrators need to see my students' faces and know my students' names, so that if I do, go back to the dollar signs, if I do put a purchase request through, those superintendents, those administrators have seen my students, have talked with my students, and know what their needs are to realize that this is an item that my classroom needs for the student's success. So making sure that you are inviting those administrators, you've got to get over that fear of it and just go with it and make it an opportunity for your students to learn as well as your administrators to learn. And every single time has been a phenomenal experience. And I'm trying to come up with more and more ways to get those administrators in my classrooms because they need to see. They need to be a part of it. My students are a big part of our school community, and we need their administrative support to make it more successful and to help bridge that gap in our community as well. So inviting them also means that they're less likely to stop by on the spur of the moment. So make those invitations for our administrators. It's really important.
This next slide is just a picture of the carnival. And in our city, we have a street fair. And literally the whole street, the town closes down for this street fair. It's about 3 or 4 days. There's parades every night, and it's just crazy. But a lot of times our students with intense needs aren't able to go to the street fair. Sometimes they're not able to participate on the rides. Sometimes there's just so many people. It can be very overstimulating and loud. So we created our own little carnival so that our students could have that experience. However, with the carnival, I don't know if you can see, we can't really see, but Mrs. Sheets is dressed up like a clown, and the students had to earn tickets. So she used their IEP goals and objectives, and she had some items already set aside for each particular student so that they could come and do a quick 2-minute lesson, a skill and drill, so that they could earn tickets. And then they could go use their tickets to play the games, but then we were also utilizing their devices or whatever means that they were using to communicate during those games. You can see here we have some tactile symbols up here where the student, do you want to play? Do you want to go?
This was one of those activities where I invited administrators in. Our superintendent came and was making snow cones with our students and playing whack-a-mole. So being able to have those social opportunities there makes this carryover of the communication so functional for our students.
Another way that we have utilized AAC is just also pairing these students with other students in my therapy sessions. So you can see in this upper left-hand corner, I didn't particularly work with these students. We were one-on-one, so I had a little girl, and then my SLA had another student. But at the end, we came together to play a quick game, and they were able to do some turn-taking. And you can see the little guy, he's totally intrigued on what she's doing and how she's communicating. In the lower right-hand corner, I have a little girl with a couple peers from her gen ed class, and I'm showing them the device so that when she does go into gen ed classroom, she has some peer support on some people that can communicate with her, and she can communicate back to them.
And we've worked very hard within our school community, building that understanding with our general education teachers, as well as peers and administrators. But we got to be thinking, our students don't live at school. They live at home with their families, and how we're going to carry that education over to our families as well. They need to be taught, and they need to feel comfortable with the devices also. So we set up a play date at our local library, and I loved this play day. That was so much fun. You can see in the picture we had so many devices out, and everybody was working on the same goal there. We were playing with American Girl dolls, playing Don't Break the Ice, and all kinds of games, and coloring. And the local librarian had to come over and ask us to be quiet and keep it down, which cracked me up since we were working with some nonverbal students. But this was a great opportunity for our parents not only to be able to see how we were utilizing the device and how they could use that device at home as well, but it was also a great opportunity for our parents to see our students in that social setting. One of our parents had said, "I've never seen my daughter play like this before." So that was beyond the AAC piece, but also just building those social relationships and letting parents see your child can do this. These are supports that might need to be put in place, but empowering our parents as well to make sure they're supportive of those abilities that their students have and increasing those opportunities for engagement.
We're going to share with you a quick interview with a parent of one of our students.
Really, she was nonverbal. She is nonverbal, and ever since she's come into this school and started with the device, she's been able to actually read and be able to let us know better what it is that she's wanting from us. Mm-hmm. And I think everything from the flashcards to the device have definitely contributed to that.
Okay.
Well, we finally know kind of what she knows, and we've struggled with that over the years, just really not knowing what she's able to tell us, and also what she's not able to show us in testing. Mm-hmm. So it's really been huge for her to be able to use that to get her thoughts across, and also to, like I said, get to the point where she's actually reading, going through the cards at night with her, and she's with 99% of the time, and I think the 1% is just her just being a little squirt. But
yeah.
To definitely never give up, and I know in the past school system that we were in, they told us that she just didn't get colors, and they were willing to just end it right there. Since she's been here with you guys, she's proven that it just takes the patience that you guys have and the different methods that you guys have to just keep trying things. And I know Angie in the past is just, this didn't work, so she tried it a different way, and you guys keep trying things until it works. Mm-hmm. And so to just never give up and never think that a child is just unable to get colors or anything else. I would say the biggest thing is just feedback and communication. Mm-hmm. I think it's hard because you guys are extremely busy, and we as parents are extremely busy, and I know I have the confidence in everybody here that things are happening, and it's obvious because of the things that Josie's able to do. But just more communication and just to be kept in the loop as much as possible.
So we just need to keep on keeping on, giving our parents all the information that we can possibly give, and trying to make our presence known in the community so our parents know that they are supported, that there's resources available for them. We did a parent info booth at our local Dream Team, which is our community adaptive recreation piece. They were playing t-ball at this game, and just providing trainings for our parents as well as outings and any other pieces that we can, sending them video clips, connecting them with other parents and other resources. So those other resources are important for our families, but also important for us. And we are really into these Twitter chats lately. I'm not sure if any of you have logged on there, but there's so much information. These quick snippets of info on Twitter are awesome and so valuable. We're big fans of our patents team, our local state resources there that help us out with lending libraries as well as just guidance and support. And we've listed several other options that we've found to be super helpful tools. and making those connections with those resources, as well as the vendors and the other state and local resources that might be able to help loan you devices. Deb had just told us about the AbleNet lending piece that they have as well. We were unaware of that, so excited to give that a try. Just making sure that you're not letting the money stand in the way of trying those pieces that might be the ticket to helping your student achieve, because there are low to no cost resources out there to help make those possibilities real.
And you've seen a lot of our students in this presentation using Lamp Words for Life or using a PRC device, but we have students that are utilizing all other forms of AAC. We have started utilizing a pod book with one of our students. She's really taking off with that. Our Big Mac switches, tactile symbols. We've adapted some core boards and enlarged them and made flip books, eye gaze, and we're continually just always trialing. Like I said, we utilize that lending library, our state lending library, also different device companies, Tobii Dynavox, PRC, and now AbleNet, Easter Seals. But I don't know, I think our state lending library patents, they probably chuckle every time they get a request from us, because we're just constantly looking and finding, okay, well, let's try this, and if this didn't work, what else is there? What else can we try with this student? So we're continually, we still have a couple of the students that we're just trialing different things to figure out how we can give them access to communication and access to their curriculum.
Our last stop, and we've already talked a lot about our administrators, but we leave this as our last slide because our superintendent has been a phenomenal support. But part of the reason why he's been a phenomenal support is that we have reached out to him and we've made sure that he is aware of what our student needs are and how he can help us in this mission to give them access to communication and access to their curriculum. Oh, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. I thought there was a video on there. There is not a video on there. Apologies. But I can't say enough about the support of our administrators. They are phenomenal. But like I said, inviting them into your classroom is what makes it work, letting them know. And if they won't come to your classroom, we've heard this, well, my administrator won't come down, then send them pictures, send them videos. Make it so you have done everything you possibly can to show them what your students can do, what your students need, what might work for your students. Keep at them, because that's their job, and I really do believe they want to support. Our administrator, our principal, Julie Meisler, had said that she didn't know what our students need, and I don't want that to be the case at all. So educating our administrators is a big part of our job as well.
And just keep asking them. If they say no the first time, or they have something on their agenda that's already planned, I mean, just keep asking them. Eventually they're going to say yes, because they're going to get tired of you asking them to come in. So just keep asking. So how can you jump aboard the AAC train? And this presentation really was just to share our journey on how we have been able to utilize AAC and get other staff members, other students, our instructional assistants, family members, administration, even community, just getting them on board, making them aware of what's out there, making them aware of our student needs, and also making them aware of our student successes. That's what it's about. I mean, giving our students access to communication and access to the curriculum. And we are just so passionate about that we just want to inspire other people to do the same thing and maybe give them ideas on how they can go back to their school or their practice, and just have some takeaways on, okay, maybe this will work, or maybe this is how I could get the family on board, or just some different ideas. And we are super open to your ideas as well. So please contact us, email us if you have any questions, or if you have ideas to give us. We are open to that as well, because we're all in this together, just for the love of our students.
Big community.
Absolutely. So does anyone have any questions?
If there's any questions that might be coming in, I'd just like to give a shout out. We do have another Deb had asked us to promote All That in a Bag of Chips coming up on June 5th, I believe at 11 o'clock here on the AbleNet University.
11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so that'd be 10 o'clock Central Time. And that presentation is going to get into more of the academic instruction, so utilizing AAC with the academics.
And thanks for joining us again. We know we had technical difficulties last week, so thanks for coming back.